Before HITECH Act, a covered entity was responsible for any breaches caused by their business associates. It was covered by their business associates agreement BAA. But HITECH Act requires business associates to be responsible like a covered entity. Business associates also face the same legal penalties for violations. Who is responsible for HIPAA after HITECH Act? HIPAA applies to covered entities and business associates. The omnibus final rule was released in January 2013. And this rule requires covered entities, business associates, and their subcontractors to comply HIPAA regulations. As per HIPAA omnibus final rule, maintaining electronic PHI data makes them a business associate. As a result, data center cloud service providers all become business associates even if the data they store is encrypted. The postal service does not have access to the PHI, that's why they are not a business associate. HIPAA requires a contract or other written agreement with their business associate. The omnibus rule enhanced the enforcement component of the law, giving the Health and Human Service Office for Civil Rights more power to enforce the rules and impose fines. Three different categories of covered entities. This shows some examples of each category. Medicare, if an individual is over 65 or under 65 with disability, it is covered by federal government. Medicaid, low income category, it is covered by state plus federal government. Business associates are auditors, accountants, attorneys, consultants, third party administrator, and health record vendors. Revision of HIPAA. Original HIPAA rule was released on August 21st, 1996. HITECH Act was released on February 18th, 2009. Omnibus final rule was released on January 25th, 2013. The privacy rule determines when a covered entity can use or disclose a patient's health information. The privacy rule requires authorization, administrative compliance, and granting of individual rights. Administrative compliance requires to have policies and procedures, perform risk assessments, designate a security officer, employee training. That's what we are doing today. To comply with privacy rule, a covered entity must get written authorization for use and disclosure of patient health information other than payment, treatment, and healthcare operations. PHI stands for Protected Health Information. PHI is created or received by a healthcare provider, health plan, public health authority, employer, life insurer, school, university, healthcare cleaning house. PHI can be communicated via verbal, written, or electronic methods. PHI samples could be X-rays, medical record numbers, claim records, billing records, verbal conversations with a patient. If a covered entity shares the data for a health project, they can remove the identifiers. Then it is no longer a PHI. For example, if you want to analyze 60 plus years old people's chest X-ray to find the average health condition in a certain region. Sample of identifiers are name, address, phone number, health plan beneficiary, SSN, date of birth, name of employer, fax numbers, name of relatives, medical record number, photographs, email. The minimum necessary rule requires a covered entity to limit the use of PHI. They can disclose for treatment, they can disclose to a patient, they can disclose to the law enforcement without written authorization. Granting of individual rights to receive notice of privacy practice NPP from a covered entity, right to get access to their PHI within 30 days or 60 days if data is stored off-site, right to amend legitimate updates. But a covered entity denies a request if someone wants to remove a health condition to get a better insurance quote. Right to disclosure of a PHI. If an individual pays for a procedure and does not want to disclose it to their health plan company, a covered entity must honor it. Right to request and accounting of disclosures made by a covered entity for the last 6 years of the date of request. For example, if unpaid any bills or sent for collections, they have the right to know any accounting of disclosures. HIPAA Privacy Rule Summary. HIPAA applies to covered entities and business associates. Identify protected health information. Covered entities and business associates can only use PHI for payment, treatment, or healthcare operations unless authorized in writing. Most disclosures are subject to the minimum necessary rule. The security rule defines standards for the security rule of electronic PHI, also known as ePHI. The security rule requires a covered entity to enforce confidentiality, integrity, and availability of all EPHI they create, receive, maintain, or transmit. The security rule also requires a covered entity identify reasonably anticipated threats to the security of the information, protect against impermissible uses or disclosures, ensure compliance by their workforce, designate a HIPAA security officer, conduct regular security assessments, implement administrative, physical, and technical safeguards. Three types of safeguards: administrative, physical, and technical. Administrative safeguards such as policies and procedures, physical safeguards such as locked doors, security IDs, technical safeguards such as encryption, firewalls, passwords. Safeguards are needed to protect from security breaches such as access, use, disclosure of PHI in a manner not permitted by the privacy rule to presumed to be a breach, unless the covered entity or business associate demonstrates a low probability that the PHI has been compromised based on a risk assessment. Common HIPAA violations: discuss patient information in a public place or with inappropriate, unauthorized individuals. Print or electronic information left exposed where visitors or unauthorized individuals can view it. Records accessed without the need to know, sending PHI to the wrong place, for example, putting it in a wrong envelope. PHI security rule summary: covered entities need to implement administrative, physical, and technical safeguards to protect PHI. Do your part to safeguard PHI. Don't ignore security breaches. If you see something, inform to your manager or inform to your security and privacy officer. How do we avoid breaches? Follow security best practices, office and computer security. Store all patient information securely with lock and key. Discuss patient information in private with a closed door. Avoid unnecessary discussions of patient information. Review restrictions before making disclosures. Confirm recipients' credentials before disclosures. How do we avoid breaches? Follow security best practices. Document threading. No PHI should be discarded in regular waste baskets. All confidential information should be shredded to ensure patient privacy. Ensure shred bin is locked. Follow security best practices continues. Number 3, computer security. log off or lock the computer or when away from desk, turn computer screen or monitor so that it is invisible to others. Don't put PHI on laptops or smartphones that travel with you. Don't share your password with anyone. Secure passwords. Follow security best practices continues. Number 4, email. Avoid sending PHI unless it is password protected and encrypted. Respond to the security breach. What do you do in the event of a security breach? Don't panic. Contact your security and privacy officer. Covered entities, business associates, and subcontractors are required to notify individuals, health and human services, and the media if data breach affects more than 500 individuals in a state. Quiz time.